It's the night shift at a regional hospital in a quiet German town. A nurse checks on a patient in the cardiac ward. Vitals are stable. She leaves. 40 minutes later, the same patient is dead. Nobody questions it. Old age. Underlying conditions. These things happen in hospitals, right? Except they keep happening. Same ward. Same shift. Same nurse. Niels Högel was, by every official account, a model employee. Hardworking, calm under pressure. The first to volunteer for emergencies. Colleagues liked him. Patients' families trusted him. But by the time German authorities finished investigating, prosecutors believed he had killed at least 85 patients, possibly closer to 300. That would make him the most prolific serial killer in modern German history. And for nearly a decade, the very hospital system built to protect patients did almost nothing to stop him. This is the story of how that happened, and the institutional failures that allowed it to continue long after the warning signs appeared. Högel began his career in 1999 as a nursing trainee. By 2000, he was working in intensive care at Oldenburg Hospital. Colleagues nicknamed him Rescue Ranger. Why? Because cardiac arrests seemed to happen disproportionately on his shifts, and he always seemed to be the one who rushed in to resuscitate the patient. At first glance, it looked like dedication, but it wasn't. It was something far darker. Högel was secretly injecting patients with unprescribed medication, drugs that would deliberately induce cardiac arrest, so he could then perform the resuscitation himself. He wanted the adrenaline. He wanted the attention. He wanted colleagues to see him as the hero who pulled someone back from death. Sometimes, the resuscitation worked. Far too often, it didn't. In 2002, hospital staff finally noticed the pattern. Cardiac emergencies were spiking, and they clustered around Högel's shifts. An internal review was opened. Finally, someone was paying attention, but instead of involving police, instead of launching a full criminal investigation, the hospital quietly transferred him to another facility in Delmenhorst with a neutral reference letter. No criminal complaint, no warning, no alarm. The hospital chose to protect its own reputation instead of protecting future patients. And Högel walked into his new job with a completely clean record. At Delmenhorst, the pattern didn't stop. It got worse. Without the scrutiny that had begun catching up to him in Oldenburg, Högel had even more freedom. Prosecutors would later say, this is where the killing intensified. Then, in 2005, a colleague caught him in the act. He was manipulating an IV line, using an unauthorized drug. This time, police were finally called. Högel was convicted in 2008 for attempted murder in that single incident and sentenced to 7.5 years in prison. For investigators, that should have been the end of the story. Instead, it was only the beginning. While Högel was already behind bars, German police reopened the broader case in 2014. Then came the horrifying task. Investigators began exhuming bodies. More than 130 former patients who had died during his shifts. One by one. They searched for traces of the drugs he was known to misuse. The toxicology results kept coming back positive. Again and again and again. The number of suspected victims climbed from dozens into the hundreds. In 2019, a second trial brought new convictions. 85 counts of murder, the largest total in German post-war history. The court stated investigators believed the real number was likely much higher. Some experts estimated as many as 300 victims. But because many bodies had decomposed and hospital records were incomplete, countless deaths could never be conclusively proven. How does one nurse kill that many patients without anyone stopping him for over a decade? The answer lies less with Högel himself and more with the institutions around him. Both hospitals had documented unusually high rates of cardiac emergencies during his shifts. Looking back, the warning signs were impossible to ignore. but hospital management treated them as administrative problems, reputational problems, not possible crimes. Internal investigations were conducted quietly, if they happened at all. When concerns were raised, the response wasn't reporting. It was reassignment, drug stock discrepancies, missing medication, vials that should have triggered immediate audits were repeatedly unexplained or simply dismissed. There was also a structural weakness in Germany's healthcare oversight at the time. Hospitals were largely allowed to regulate themselves when dealing with internal misconduct. There was no mandatory requirement forcing hospitals to report staff suspected of harming patients, which meant a hospital could solve its Högel problem simply by sending him somewhere else. A government commission later concluded that at least 2 hospitals had clear opportunities to stop Högel years before his eventual arrest. Those opportunities were missed. Why? A mix of institutional self-protection, understaffing, weak oversight, and perhaps most importantly, a failure of imagination. Because nobody wanted to believe that a caregiver could intentionally murder patients. Families of the victims were devastated. They had buried loved ones believing their deaths were natural. They believed it was simply old age, or illness, or fate. Years later, some nearly a decade later, they discovered the truth. Their grief had to begin all over again. Only this time, it came with betrayal. In the aftermath, German lawmakers introduced reforms. Hospitals were required to report unusual mortality clusters and unexplained medication discrepancies to outside authorities. The self-regulation gap was partially closed. Hospitals also tightened access to controlled medications. Automated tracking systems were introduced to detect missing doses in real time. But many critics, including prosecutors involved in the case, argue these reforms only address the symptoms, not the deeper problem. Hospital systems, they say, are still structurally inclined to protect their own reputation first. Whistleblowers have continued reporting resistance. Some even face professional retaliation, simply for raising concerns. Högel's case isn't unique. Medical serial killers, often called angels of death by the media, have appeared in the UK, the United States, and other countries. Again and again. The same pattern emerges. Warning signs are missed. Concerns are ignored. Institutions hesitate, because admitting that a trusted caregiver might be murdering patients is almost unthinkable, until it's too late. Today, Högel remains in prison. There is no realistic possibility he will ever be released. The hospitals where he worked have changed leadership, changed procedures. Some have even changed their names, as though rebuilding the institution might somehow rebuild trust. For many families, it never will. They don't just want reforms. They want acknowledgement and admission that the system failed their loved ones long before Högel ever touched them. And perhaps that's the most disturbing question this case leaves behind. It isn't simply, why did one man kill? It's this. What happens when the people responsible for detecting danger are also responsible for protecting their institution's reputation? Until that conflict is truly resolved, many experts fear this story could happen again.